To me, people think that success is something that only privileged people have. My thing is like success is for those that are willing to just get up there and take it. I was working 18 hours a day. I was working hard and not making any money. What was the problem there? The same thing we all do. We just chase. We chase the money. And when you chase something, what happens? It runs faster. Market is hot, we make money. Market sucks, we make money. Market is going sideways, we make money. What's your excuse? What limitation do you have that's stopping you from succeeding? Tony Robbins always says, you get what you focus on. What belief is it that you have that's stopping you from succeeding? It's early, so I'll be nicer today. I was born in Argentina, raised in New York, and I spent the last 11 years in Texas. So if you're trying to figure out my accent, good luck. I haven't figured it out. But the biggest thing that I learned, I've been doing this for a little over 12 years now, is I was an illegal immigrant in this country for over 20 years. And this was before it was cool to be one, because apparently now it's like the cool thing, right? Before, nobody knew you were an immigrant. You were not telling people, right? Like it wasn't allowed to do that. I dropped out of high school because there was no future for me, right? I was a terrible student. There was no reason for me to stay in school. Work construction, because that's what my dad did, and that's what we were meant to do. Fast forward, I live an amazing life. You understand? Like I have a business that makes a lot of money. I have a family that's happy, healthy. I got to move to a place where I wanted to live in Tennessee, and I live an amazing life. The reason I'm telling you this is there's no reason why I should be living this amazing life. I wasn't born into privilege. I wasn't born with an amazing vocabulary, as you're going to learn. You know, I don't have any reason to have success other than the fact that I wanted it. I wanted success. To me, people think that success is something that only privileged people have. And my thing is like success is for those that are willing to just get up there and take it. It's not given. You understand? You gotta be willing to take success. When he tells a story about Brad didn't ask for permission. He just went and said, I'm gonna do this. And that's it. And it's what's crazy about this is that I've had the privilege of coaching investors for the last 2-3 years. And when I started my coaching, I was like, I'm gonna teach people how to invest in real estate, how to acquire deals, how to rehab, how to do all the things that I've done. I spent more than 80% of my time dealing with mindset issues. Not strategies. I'll give you strategies all day long. You won't take action. I had this morning a student calling me freaking out because he has 2 contracts. He's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, dude, this is literally what you've been working for. What the fuck are you saying? What are we talking about right now? They were freaking out because it's like this. I was like, what does these 2 contracts mean to you? He's like, freedom. I was like, what does freedom mean to you? He's like, I don't know. I was like, interesting. So you have the opportunity to have freedom and you're scared. You're scared of what that freedom looks like. You're scared of how that freedom is going to change you. Because guess what? Like, now that you prove to your wife, your family, the people around you, that you make some money, can you do it again? Or was this a fluke? Did you get lucky? Or are you good at this? And that's a choice. And I speak to people all day long. I had a guy reach out to me through Instagram telling me that he can't wholesale in Hawaii because people are racist. I was like, okay, let me know how that works out for you. You understand? Like, again, I was illegal. You understand? Like, English is my second language. You know, I speak both terribly, you know? So I'm a high school dropout. And I moved to Texas. And you understand? Like, there's no reason. I was broke. When I started real estate, I was flat broke. I didn't have money. I started wholesaling. I sucked at it for about 8 years. It was terrible. I made some money. I flipped some houses. We built some houses. I was scrambling for all that time. It was a stressful, stressful time. What do? Give up? Go back to construction? Go back to get a GED? That wasn't an option for me. You understand? So the shift that I made was I dropped my ego. You know, a lot of us have that, and that ego makes us make wrong decisions, that we should know better. right? Like you see, especially when I heard a story of this hillbilly in like Arkansas or something, like making like 10, 15 grand a month. I was like, fuck, if he can do it, I'm doing like 30, you know? And years later, I was still not making any money. And I was like, I don't get it. I'm struggling. I'm working hard. I was working 18 hours a day. I was working hard and not making any money. What was the problem there? The same thing we all do. We just chase. We chase the money. And when you chase something, what happens? It runs faster, right? Everything you chase, it just runs faster. And I was like, well, I don't know any other way. Everything I've had in life, I had to chase. So 2021 came around, and I found myself hating my life. Like, it was just terrible. It's 2021. The whole year, I probably tried to quit real estate about 3 times a month. And I was just sitting there and thinking that I need to talk to my wife because I want to just leave real estate. And I almost started crying because I was like, I failed my kids. I failed my wife. I failed my family. I was like, fuck. Like, I've been working hard. You understand? But what happened? I still had that belief because I was an immigrant. I didn't deserve to have success. It had to be hard. It had to hurt. It had to be something that's like, it's not attainable for you. You're an immigrant. You don't have a high school diploma. What do you think? These people are going to listen to you? You think these people are going to like pay you that kind of money? You're not worth it. You don't deserve it. You understand? And it was breaking my heart. I was like, I don't know what else to do. I'm a failure as a man. My dad was right. I should have stayed in construction. Sat down with my business partner and I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do right now. Right? And he's like, I don't know either. And we came across Logan. You guys familiar with Logan Fulmer? And he was like kind of, doing his real estate, had been successful doing it. And we're like, screw it. Let's just reach out to this guy and see what happens. We reach out to him. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm thinking of starting a mastermind. He's like, if you guys want to join. It cost us like 15 grand to do it at that time. And we were like struggling. And we're like, you know what? Screw it. It's either this or I'm shutting the business down. Because like I was just exhausted. It was just spinning my wheels every single day. So we hire him. About 2 coaching calls in, he says one thing that stood out to me more than everything else. He's like, when I started making $300, $350 a year, I realized I had something. Now it was time for me to start seeing how to scale this. And I was like, oh shit. So I'm with 12 employees, barely able to make $35,000 a month. I was like, I'm doing this whole thing backwards. That January, we fired everybody. It was just John, myself, and a VA that's been with us for 7 years. And I was like, that's it. Drop the ego. You don't know shit about real estate. You don't know anything about anything. I asked Logan, I was like, what do you do? A, B, and C. Done. Did exactly that. What Logan did for us was he taught us that you can do a deal and make 50 grand. I didn't know that was possible because for everybody that's starting off in real estate, what do they tell you? Make 5 grand, make 10 grand. Like that's acceptable. That was being told back when I started 12 years ago. How the hell is that acceptable still? That was 12 years ago. Why are you still making 5, 10 grand? That makes no sense to me. Right now, you should be making 20, 30 grand a deal. But that's not what you hear. You hear make 5, 10 grand, right? Logan, he's like, no, we don't do those deals anymore. So I started questioning literally everything I was doing in real estate, everything I knew about marketing. We had done pay-per-clicks, pay-per-lead, SEO, Facebook ads, cold calling, direct mail, text message blast. We've done it all, and we were still struggling. And it was going back to like that mindset that I was brought up with, that harder you work, the more successful you can become. That wasn't true. I was working very, very hard. My dad worked very, very hard. He ended up with a heart attack and no money. You understand? So I started realizing, I was like, all right, let's bring this down. Let's humble ourselves down. Let's simplify this business. And the hardest part of this whole strategy is accepting that you can make more by doing less. That's the biggest thing. We all feel, again, in order to succeed in real estate, you got to do a lot. You got to pick, 5, 6 different areas, hit everything as hard as you can, get as many people, and then you're always broke. And we picked just one area to focus on. We picked foreclosures just because I've been doing that since I started. And we just started hunkering down. And we did our first deal. We did our second deal. When all of a sudden we're like doing really good. We're picking up momentum. And I'm like, holy shit, this is really good. This is exciting, right? And then what happened is like, I realized how easy this was and I started sabotaging the business again. And I started tanking everything all over again. And then we went from doing $50,000, $60,000 deals to now, oh, let's do this one for 15. It's right there. Let's do this one for 10. And then all of a sudden the business started coming down again. And I was like, fuck, here I am again. Why? Because it was getting too easy. It was getting too fun. I wasn't working that hard anymore. I was doing 2, maybe 3 hours a day. You know, before I was doing like 18, started getting easy. I started sabotaging myself again. And I was like, damn it, this again. And I'm like, all right, so started working through it again. Where it all shook out is that I have a self-worth issue. I don't feel I'm worthy of success. How many people don't feel you're worthy of success? Or you feel like in order for you to deserve success, you need to bust your ass doing this. You need to be doing more. How can you do a simple deal, a simple call, a simple strategy, and make 60 grand on a deal? How is that acceptable? That makes no sense, especially when you could barely do 60 grand a year, right? These questions are the things that stops us from doing a lot of deals and from making money. Everybody says they want to make high margin deals, right? Everybody says they want to make money until you start making money. And then you start making money and you're like, oh, shit, I don't know if I want this. Because how am I going to keep it? How am I going to maintain it? How am I going to keep holding this on? What if I'm not good enough? What is this going to mean? My parents, you know, I'm going to be more successful than my parents? What's that going to mean for that? You understand? Like, all of these things are the things that keep sabotaging us. All these limiting beliefs. I speak to investors all the time, and they're like, yeah, but John, I can't pick up rentals. Look at the interest rates. Look at the insurance costs. The rents are not going up. You know, the politics, this thing, that thing. And I'm like, you know, Hawaii's racist. I'm like, all right, dude, good luck. You know, if I kept my excuses of I was illegal, I was a high school dropout, I was doing all that, I would not be doing what I do right now. You understand? So what excuses, what limiting beliefs are you having that to you, they're the truth? They're like, this is the truth, John. There's too much competition in San Antonio. There's over, last I checked, over 8 months of inventory in San Antonio. What does that mean? Market sucks, right? Buyer's market. Over 8 months of inventory. Who's making money in this kind of market? We are. We just wholesaled the deal for 130 grand. We flipped the house in the beginning of the year for 110 grand. But wait, there's 8 months of inventory. You can't be making money in that kind of market. That's crazy. Okay. Good luck. You understand? Is this making sense? Like, you get to pick your limitations. I decided to stop picking limitations. And instead of focusing on what everybody else is saying, because it's so popular to complain about the market, to complain about opportunities, it's so easy to do that. Start complaining and you'll see a big circle form around you. And everybody starts throwing their complaints in there. That's when you got to look around and be like, I got to get the fuck out of this circle. You understand? I got to get in a circle that we start talking possibilities and opportunities. You understand? When Will opened this up, I was so excited. Because he had it before, he was very selfish. You know, it's just firefighters because they're the cool kids. But because Will shares that same mindset of abundance. There's no reason why. I teach people in San Antonio how to do the same foreclosures that I do. People are like, why? They're your competition. I was like, okay, good luck with that. It's not my competition. We do multiple 6 figures every single month in San Antonio, doing just one strategy. And I teach other people how to do the same exact thing. Why? Because to me, there's so much to go around. There's so much opportunity. You know, I had a student, Los Angeles sucks. Okay. How can I make money? Well, you can't. Los Angeles sucks. I know, but you said you can help me. I was like, nah, if Los Angeles sucks. He's like, I don't get it. I was like, that's the point. You gave up on Los Angeles instead of saying like, okay, this is Los Angeles. What's it offering? Where's the demand? Where's there all this? How can I make money? How can I start doing this? You understand? Who can I reach out to? Who can I partner with? Who can I learn from? You don't ask those questions. You just make up your mind. Why can't I pick up rentals? Interest rates are too high. Your brain shuts down. That's it. Why even bother thinking anymore? Right? You already made up your mind. Interest rates are too high. Why would you pick up a rental then? We get rental opportunities for us to pick up rentals that cash flow $1,100, $1,200 a month in San Antonio. But don't worry, your interest rates are too high. What do you want me to say? You understand? Like people think that, oh, if the market is hot, you're going to make money. Okay. If the market is cold, you're going to suck and you're not going to make money. Okay. Which one serves you best? Me, market is hot, we make money. Market sucks, we make money. Market is going sideways, we make money. What's your excuse? Is this making sense? Like, you get to choose your own limits. Why do you keep choosing the ones that don't get you paid? What excuses do you have? You had too much privilege? Life was too easy for you. Okay. What are we doing here, right? I see people show up at networking events and not ask questions, not participate, not network with other people that are successful. We were talking about this the other day. He sets up meetings with people for his brokerage and stuff like that. They don't ask questions. They don't take advantage. And they're hurting. They're hemorrhaging every single month. And I'm like, and you talk to them, what's the problem? Oh, cold calling doesn't work. Okay. Direct mail doesn't work. Okay. Here we go. Keep focusing on all the things that are broken. Keep focusing on all the things that don't work, and then don't be surprised that you don't get results. This list is a problem. We make money with absentee lists, with probates, with foreclosures, with the tax delinquent. But for you, foreclosures don't work. Okay. What other limits do you have? What other limitations do you want? You can't find good contractors. That was one for us for the longest time. Contractors suck. We used to flip a lot of houses. It's like, contractors are terrible. Until I had a coach that he's like, okay. I was like, fuck. I was like, all right, no, we're going to get good contractors. All of a sudden, contractors stopped sucking. Our flips got easier. We started making more money. I was like, damn it. Tony Robbins always says, you get what you focus on. We all know this, but we still want to focus on the bad. Why? Because it feels like you're doing something. It gives you an out. It gives you an excuse to not push harder, right? This market is hard. I put a question the other day on Instagram, is wholesaling hard? 93%, I think it was, said, yeah, wholesaling is hard. Okay. What are you going to do about it? If you think wholesaling is hard, are you going to succeed at wholesaling? No. If you think flipping is hard, are you going to succeed at flipping? If you think you can't buy rentals in this market, are you going to find rentals? How is that serving you? You understand? Like, it's funny because, and I have a few students here that will acknowledge that they call me and they're like, hey, I have an issue with this, and they're wanting tactics, they're wanting strategies, and I'm like, yeah, dude, this is mindset. You can see their eyes like, fuck. Because it's the hardest thing to do. I can give you strategies, but that's 10% of the equation. Why aren't you implementing it? Why are you stopping yourself? How is it you contract a deal that you're going to close for 60 grand and immediately say, oh, fuck, I hope it closes? What do you mean you hope it closes? Why'd you contract it? Huh?
Make it close.
Make it close, right? Like, to me, I contract something because it's supposed to close. It makes no sense for me not to close it. When I speak to wholesalers and they're like, oh, our close rate is like 50%. I'm like, you suck. Like, you're really bad. What do you mean 50%? So you go into every deal like, it's a 50-50. You know, I'm like, I did that before. That's a very stressful business to run. You know how much volume you need to be able to make money out of a business like that? Contract 6, 7 houses, close to 2 or 3. That's a terrible business in my opinion. We contract 5, we close 5. That's the business model we do. And you can ask, Rob works for me, and every time he contracts a deal, oh, this, and this. I'm like, then cancel the contract if you already gave up. No, I didn't give up. There we go. There we go. You know, and it's not that I like being an asshole. Sometimes it's fun. But it's more that it's like, don't be surprised that when you contract a deal that's supposed to make 30 grand, you make 5, when you just started telling me that you don't feel you're worth more than 5 or 7 grand a deal. You feel like if you make more than that, you're stealing. You're taking advantage of somebody. I didn't feel like I was taking advantage of somebody when I made 130. I felt really good about it. I helped them out, and it made me a lot of money. Zero guilt in my heart. But if you feel like that's too much, because, well, John, you don't understand. My dad never made that much money. So let's keep repeating what your dad did? What are we doing? Are we not growing anymore? Is that as far as life is going to get for you? Is that as good as life is going to get for you? It's your choice. I'm not working hard enough. I get that a lot too. I'm not working hard enough. I had a student make one call, got an appointment. And we get on a coaching call, and he's like, yeah, you know, everything's good and all that. I was like, you made one call and you got one appointment, right? He's like, yeah. I was like, did you keep calling? He's like, no. Did that appointment cancel on you? He's like, yeah. I was like, why? He's like, oh, I don't know. I was like, what do you mean you don't know? All of a sudden, you were done. You did one call. You got one appointment. You're like, I'm done for the day. What are you teaching yourself? What is it that you're showing yourself? Are you really here to make money, or are you just here to get appointments? Are you here to help people, or are you just here to just get one person to say yes, and that's it? Like, what's your purpose? What's the goal here? He's like, no, I really want to help people. Bullshit. Because you had one person say yes, nobody else needed help? He's like, well, no, I don't know. I'm like, exactly. What is it that you're here to do? Like Will was saying, pick your Lamborghini, right? What is it that what's your goal? If your goal is to close deals and make money, why stop at one? Right? Like, you're lazy. You don't like the business. And that's fine. I don't think real estate is for everybody. I think anybody can do it. I just don't think everybody will. Because nobody's willing to put in that kind of work. Everybody chases the money. Everybody chases the glamour of it. But that glamour, that money, gets to a point where it's just not enough. You got to have some purpose behind this. How's it going to change your life? How's it going to change your family's life? How do you show up better for your community? What's more than just money? Money is great fuel, but it's a terrible destination. You understand? Like, it's good. It's exciting. Money got me the dreams I have, but I still need those dreams. Because if not, what happens? You make 60 grand, more than you ever made in a year, and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't have motivation, John. Like, yeah, you're thinking too small. You're dreaming way too small. You're hanging around all the people that all they do is complain every time you hang around them. Hang out with people that are constantly winning, and then tell me if 60 grand was enough. Hang around people that are always dreaming higher, and then tell me if 60 grand is enough. Those people are always going to raise you up. But you're not selective of the people you hang around with. You hang around with the people that are going to give you the excuses to stay where you are. What's the point of that? Then you complain, man, it's been 5 years and I haven't grown. No, you don't say. Tell me what you're doing in your life. I have a measure every single day. When I go to bed, I need to make sure that I did something that day to move the needle. Every single day. I'm a different person every month than I was the month before. That's the expectation for me, because that's the role model I want to be for my kids, right? My kids look up to me. They look at the things I do. But why is it that you even get out of bed every day? And then people are like, oh, I don't make any money. Do some marketing. Ah, that doesn't work. Okay. What do you want? What limitation do you have that's stopping you from succeeding? What belief is it that you have that's stopping you from succeeding? When I teach people how to do marketing, I tell them pick one list, one form of marketing to it, and niche that list down and start making money. They start having success and they're like, I feel like I should add another list. Why? You're having success already. He's like, yeah, but don't I need to add another list and be more busy? Yeah.
What is it when you said niche that list up? Break out what that means.
Okay, so for example, like we do foreclosures in San Antonio, right? When I pull the foreclosure list, we do a deed of trust date of 12 years or older, so then we have equity. Then we do institutional lenders. I don't want LLC, stuff like that. And then what we look for is for the property, for the original loan amount to be around like 200, 250 or below. Because I don't want houses in areas of ARVs of 500, 600 grand. I don't have buyers in those areas and I don't want houses in those areas. What we started doing is we actually added another level. We only want deceased people that are in foreclosure. That niche for us, in January, we had 58 leads total, and we did 3 deals for a total, I think, of like 280 grand. You know, like that's the niching down. Even absentees. How many people think absentee list sucks? Nobody? That's awesome. You do? The absentee list is the list that I love the most. It's the foundation of everything. We take the absentee list, and then we start niching it down. How do we do this? What do our buyers want? Where are they buying? What price points are they buying? What are the hot areas of town? What's the median price in the town, right? When you market to the median price of every city, you are guaranteeing that when you get a deal, you have a higher likelihood of selling that property because you're where the most demand is. So we'll take that, we'll narrow that down, and it'll be probably like 10, 12,000 properties. Then we'll add tax delinquent to that. Which of those are tax delinquent? Then we'll add probates to that. Which of those are in probate? Then we'll add code violations to that. Now all of a sudden we took 10,000 to like 60. But now we have 60 hot properties. All I need is one person to say yes out of those.
So when you get to that 60, what's your approach method?
We skip trace it. We use Skip Genie. So we use Skip Genie as the one skip tracing service. I've used them all. It's the one that's consistent for us. And we single dial each number. So we don't put it in a mass dialer. We don't do anything like that. We use ReSimply, upload it to the CRM, and we single dial every single number out of that. And the most important piece of that is what we get good at is how to speak on the phone, right? Because a lot of people just call a list like that and say, hey, do you want to sell? No, I don't. Well, they're not motivated. We do foreclosures. 10 out of 10 of the people that we call don't want to sell. That's why they're in foreclosure. But we still close deals every month, right? So you got to get good at being on the phone, which is where most people suck, or they hire some VAs because that's how you do cold calling now, you know, and it's like it's not resulting in anything. Why? Because you don't understand what the objections are, right? So then we cold call every single one, and as soon as we get one person to just say hello, everything else stops, right? And we build connections with them. We try to connect with them, not even talk about the property, you know, just connect with the whole real estate market in San Antonio. How's the rentals been going? You know, things like that, just to get them to open up. Then we go into motivation. You know, we use a transition question from connection to motivation that we say, you know, hey, I've been talking to some local landlords and they tell me that after 5 or 10 years, that's when they want to sell their house when they have enough equity. What do you think is your exit strategy? Right? So I'm asking them, do they want to sell without asking them, do they want to sell? Why? Because everybody else is asking them, do they want to sell? Immediately, they're like, you're going to lowball me, let me shut down, right? So we don't ask that question because it just leads nowhere. Now we're having a great conversation with somebody that's telling us, like, honestly, man, like if I could let go of this property now, I would. Oh, there we go. Yes. But he told me, I didn't have to, you know? And we do the same with foreclosures, with probates and stuff like that. It's not just like, they're like, oh, I market, like I got a lot of people that tell me, I do foreclosures, probates, taxes. I'm like, no, you don't do anything. You're doing way too much. Because the way I speak to a foreclosure is not the same way I speak to an absentee, it's not the same way I speak to a probate. And one thing that the human mind cannot do is multitask, as much as you guys think you can. And what's going to happen is when you go from a foreclosure to an absentee, you're going to start pressuring the absentee the way you do a foreclosure, and you're going to fuck them both up. Ask me how I know, right? So pick a list and master that one list. But the discipline that it takes to do that, and not even the discipline, the belief that it takes to do that is where the work begins. How can one list make me 6 figures? a month because it just can.
So now the question is, how do you apply AI today? Because I could see AI in the shadow mode of all these calls
Yeah.
as how you project to apply it tomorrow.
AI,
Training AI right now.
yeah.
to listen.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into it. I'll be honest, I'm lazy with that. We do very, limited deals. We do 3 deals a month, 2 deals a month, and we do 6 figures. So like, I'm not attracted to AI yet, but we have Rob and other people that started looking at AI to at least pull the list and do a lot of those things.
Just for data.
Yeah, just for the data compiling of it.
The data you're talking about, sorting, niching it down, that's a total AI address.
I agree. It's just that,
That's laborious.
remember, like I tell you guys, right? Like I'm a high school dropout, so I'm very lazy. So there's sometimes I'm like, we're doing pretty good,
That's when AI will come in.
Yeah, so we're working on it. You had a question?
Yeah, what's your follow-up sequence look like? Like once you call that lead one time, you have like text messages, email campaigns going, and then when would the next call go out?
Depends on the list. So let's say foreclosures, our follow-up is up until 2 weeks before the actual auction. We don't stop. Every single day they're getting called until they pick up. And we send out probably a sequence of 3 text messages throughout it. It's manual. Everything is manual that we do on it. And the last text being, this is the one that gets us the most results, is we send them a last text the 2 Fridays before the auction, right? So it leaves 1 full week before the auction. And we tell them, look, it seems like you figured this out and you were able to stop the foreclosure. We're going to be closing your file and moving on. When people feel like you're no longer going to come after them, all of a sudden they're like, hey, wait, hold on. But what we like about that is when they call me, now they better answer every question I ask. I'm no longer trying to build connection. You understand? You came to me now. Now you're going to do what I say, right? So that's our sequence for the foreclosures, right? Like it's very manual, it's very tedious, but when you're doing 50 leads, it's not crazy, right? And then with absentees, we have drip sequences that we set up that they're for right now, I think 650 days is a drip sequence that we have for it. And we call a few times, we send a text message, then we throw them in the drip sequence. And then, we get people, like we have one right now that's been a little over 1,100 days that raise their hand. They're like, yeah, I'm ready to sell. Cool. So we have follow-ups, but like what I'm trying to say is like everything requires its own sequence. You understand? So like where it becomes hard is when you're doing so many different ones. Like some people try to do a drip sequence with foreclosures. I'm like, that's just silly. You understand? Because like while you're doing this automated drip sequence, because God forbid you spend some time on it, I'm spending the time and taking that deal from you. You understand? Because that's where the high margins get done. It's not in the automation, it's in the stuff that other people are just not willing to do. You understand? Now, can there be some automation with AI and stuff? I'm pretty sure. AI is very impressive. It's just, I don't care. I'll be honest, like I just don't, like Rob cares, so he's working on it, and I'm like, cool, go for it, whatever you need, here are the resources. I just don't care.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, man. But, kind of going back to it, guys, like, I promise you, if all you're thinking that what's missing is strategies, you're so wrong. I guarantee that you're so wrong. It's not the strategy. The strategy, I just gave it to you. 100%, right? When we didn't know what we were doing, we got a messy deal. Guess what we did? We went to the people that knew how to handle those. And they're like, yeah, we'll do it for 50%. Sure. Oh, man, this is complicated. We need 70%. Take all of it. I don't give a fuck. Just teach me how to do it. You understand? We got paid. Now we make millions doing it. Last year, we did shy of $2 million on 16 deals. I had a guy flex on me on Instagram telling me that he did 1.2 million on 91 deals. I was like, that is miserable. I was like, I would hate my life if that's what I needed to do to make $1 million. And I commend him because that's impressive that he was able to manage a system that complex in order to do that. But if it's not complex, is it worth it then? Because that's where the value is. I used to brag about my complex Excel sheets that were like 17 tabs long and it all communicated with each other and nobody liked to use it. Like I used to brag about it. Now, we don't do any of that shit. Like, you see how unfancy I am. Why don't you use AI? I don't know. This is easier. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure AI can fix it. It's just I'm too lazy for that. Simplicity scales, complexity fails. The more complex something is, the less likely you are to make money on it. If you can't do it easily, if you can't explain it easily, you can't train people. This is why hiring becomes such a nightmare. When you hire acquisition people, I had bad acquisition people on my team, and I couldn't fire them because I was like, fuck, I spent like 5 months training them. I don't want to do that shit again. That was terrible. That's miserable. Now, because our systems are so simple, I mean, no offense, but if Rob had to go, I could get somebody in there doing his job in about a week or so. You understand? Like, my business doesn't take a hit. Before it would. I had bad acquisition people. I had an acquisition person that she would come to me and be like, all right, time to get rejected again. I'm like, go home. Like, fuck. If that's your attitude before you even start making calls, like, what are we doing here? Right? Go home. Don't even start. Does this make sense? Like, it's all simplicity. Everything I do in my business now, if it's not simple, I won't do it. And here's what the kicker is with the foreclosure, because it got so simple for us, that it's so easy to manage, so easy to run, and we can close these deals, I can actually take that system, plug it in other cities, and do the same thing, because I manage 90% of it from my office. So I can do this in multiple cities. And because we're talking about such low amount of leads, it doesn't bog down my systems at all. So if I'm doing $250,000 a month here in San Antonio, and I can do another 100 grand in El Paso, and I can do another 200 grand in Houston, it's still not bogging down my business. And I make a lot of freaking money a month doing it. You understand? Much easier lifestyle. But I had to change the mindset. I had to stop thinking that in order to make money, this had to hurt. This had to be complex. This had to be complicated. That mindset needed a shift. I get people all the time that they tell me like, you know, oh yeah, I'm thinking of getting more people because I'm not getting enough deals. Some of you are firefighters here, right? It's like, to me, I'm like, that's like throwing fuel on an unlit fire. You're just throwing fuel. You have no flames, and you're just throwing fuel. What's going to happen when you get a spark? Yeah, right? You're not ready to hire anybody. What are you doing? You don't know what you're doing yet. You don't know how to make money. Why are you bringing people on? If you by yourself cannot generate 300 to 500 grand a year, you're not ready to hire anybody. By yourself, you should be doing that, at least. Then you can bring somebody on. Nobody wants to hear that though, because I'm successful if I have 5 people on my team and I don't make any money. That's success. Or I have 6 people on my team, but I need a job. Like, that's just stupid. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Huh?
Tell us how you really feel.
Well, how I really feel. And honestly, the reason for the anger is because I did it myself. I did that too. I'm not judging you. I was the same boat. Like, it was so dumb. I found myself working my ass off just to keep my team busy. And we weren't generating deals. And I was stressed the hell out. But we had 12 people on our team. Big real estate company. I make more money now than ever before with 3 people. We spend probably less than $2,000 a month in marketing. John is on a vacation. I'm traveling. We're still closing deals. Isn't that business better? But you won't take it because it's too easy. We got to work hard. I got to have the staff of all the wholesalers and throwing midget at dartboards and doing all the crazy Wolf of Wall Street shit, right? We got to be doing coke and all this stuff and being Adderall and stressed the hell out to close a $7,000 deal. What the fuck? Like, it's insane. But that's what we got to do. That's what the industry says that is okay. You understand? When you're all driving what's the wholesaler car of the year? The Corvette now? You know, everybody gets the Corvette. Oh, yeah, I'm killing it now. Come on. Stop posturing. Pick the life that you want. What life do you want? And I'm not saying don't get the car. By all means, if that's your dream, do it. But if you can't leave your business for a week or even a month because they'll tank, you don't have one. You're not ready. And I'm telling you because I want you to have the freedom to be able to do this trip where I just pick up my family, we take a road trip across the country, across the country, halfway, from Tennessee. More than a 20-minute drive to me is a journey, okay? So it's a 15-hour drive with 3 kids. It was a journey. But to be able to do that and not have to worry about my bills, not have to worry about how much a hotel costs, not have to worry about how much this restaurant costs, like, that's freedom. You understand? Like, that's cool. I like that lifestyle. Screw the Corvette, right? But what's your Lamborghini? What's that dream for you? What's that look like? And what are you willing to sacrifice to become that person? What belief systems are you willing to just no longer accept in your life? You know, what excuses are you just done making? This is the only way to make money in wholesaling. Okay. You have to flip in order to make a lot of money. I make more money wholesaling than I ever did flipping before. My flips make even more money, but my wholesale deals before, people are happy doing $20,000, $30,000 flips. That's insane. I used to do them. 20, 30 grand, anything went wrong, you're praying to break even. You're praying to break even. Now on our low end, our flips are 70, 80 grand, and that's $10,000, $15,000 rehab. We don't do big projects anymore. We already did them. We lost a lot of money. A lot of money. A few years back, we lost $250,000 on a really bad project. Anybody know Dignity? Oh, boy. Yeah, $250,000. Not of profit. The profit was already gone. That was $250,000 of interest payments to our lenders that we lost.
John, what made it a bad deal? Like, what did you learn from it? What made it bad for you? What did you see?
What? Yeah.
And then whenever you got out of it,
When we went into it, we didn't have any deals, and we needed deals. It was that scarcity of like, shit, we need a deal. We need to get something on the books. And yeah, we were very desperate at the time. And we partnered with the wrong contractor. Very, very bad contractor. Very shady fucker. But very shady guy. But we found out later about it. And the project that was, we were building 3 houses. The project that was supposed to take 6 months took about 3 years. Interest rates on $1 million project kind of chews up your anything you have. So it was slow bleed out with that. You know, when we finally, and we're still in a lawsuit with that douchebag. He's trying to sue us for things that he didn't do. And because, you know, so we're like dealing with that. And it was a $250,000 loss, you know. And at the time, we had investors telling us like, you know, they're like, hey, look, private money lenders, they lose money. They take a risk. It's okay. You don't have to pay them. I'm like, you remember where I came from? Like, they invested in me, not the project. I can't do that. And at that time, we sat down with John after probably like half a bottle of whiskey and cursing out every possible person in the world. We were like, all right, what are we going to do here? Are we going to let this $250,000 tank us, or are we going to figure this shit out? That year, we made our first $1 million. We went from the lowest low to the highest high because we decided to focus on climbing out of that and doing what was right. We gave back our money lender the interest that they should have gotten, and we made more money that year. Now we look back at that $250,000 and we're like, oh, cool, tax deduction. We're like, we're good. We made more money. We're doing, every year we grow even further from that. So it's not that you're not going to have challenges. I promise you're going to have challenges. But one thing I tell all my students is like, the biggest thing with a challenge is letting you know that you're actually moving. You will never face a challenge if you're standing still. The only reason you face challenges is because you're growing and you're moving. If you don't move, you don't grow, you're never going to have a challenge. You're going to be good, but you're not growing. When you're growing, challenges to me are mile markers. It's like, ooh, look at that. Move even further. Got another big challenge. Let's go. After those challenges, I get better. I make more money every single time. Every single time we have a challenge, we get better. But everybody looks at challenges like you just failed. It's evolution. Or you can look at it like you suck.
Economic Darwinism.
Yeah, and that's what it is, right? It gets rid of the weak. We've been at this for 12 years, and people are like, ooh, 12 years. I'm like, no, we sucked a large part of those 12 years, I promise you. We just didn't give up. That's it. We just kept going. We kept learning. We kept going. Right now, there is not a question you can ask me about single-family residentials that I didn't go through. Yes? You gonna try to trick me? No. She's like, here's this one.
No, I think this is great. What I love about this group is that I always come here and I'm super motivated because we have like a lot of very high-level investors that are doing a lot of amazing deals, different deals. So I think obviously your strategies have been very successful to pivot. So I would think it'd be great to hear questions from, like specific questions on your strategies, you know.
Sure.
So if we could open it up, I think that'd be great.
Anything you got. Yeah, man.
So when you're doing cold calls or you mentioned the pre-text, like follow-up and stuff, you ever get folks like, I block numbers that, spam and stuff. Does it somehow come back to you like this number's disconnected? Like, do you know when it's not going through anymore, like text message wise or phone calls?
Well, the service that we use Resimply to do a lot of this stuff. So when the message doesn't get delivered, it literally tells you it wasn't delivered. And when you call the number and it doesn't ring, then,
Okay, so it's like a dead connection.
Yeah,
And so then you move on to the next.
pretty much. And what's important with that, right? It's like when people say, oh, when they tell you, fuck off, stop calling me and all that, what do? We move on. I'm not here to steal people's houses. You understand? Like, you don't want help? Guess what? I won't help you. That's fine. You understand? Like, I'm not here to force you to do something you don't want to do, right? Like, just move on. It's not about like, oh, I'm going to get you. Like it has nothing to do with that, right? So just move on. What else? Any questions?
John, repeat the question so that the rest of the can hear it too.
So it's like if you're
No, I'm saying like when somebody asks a question from the
Yeah.
I've got a couple of speaking points on what you're saying to these people when they pick up the phone.
So in cold calling, we have a framework. I like teaching in frameworks because the market is always shifting. So you got to be able to adapt with it. Like anybody that gives you a script, throw it out because it's probably dated already, right? So build a framework. The first thing is the intro. The intro is designed to cause curiosity, right? We got to keep them on the phone. If you're making calls and they're not lasting more than a minute, your intro sucks. Because even if they're not interested, I can still talk to somebody for 2 to 3 minutes, even if they're not interested, right? So if you can't last more than a minute, then your intro sucks. If it's not more than 5 to 10 minutes, then your connection question sucks, which is the next thing. So your intro is to cause curiosity. Your connection questions is to get somebody to understand that they like you. Like it's like, hey, look, I'm not a douchebag, right? We can talk. So it gets them to open up. And it has nothing to do with the house. It's got nothing to do with anything other than just connecting with them. So for absentees, probates, there's different types of connection questions that we ask. Once we connect, that we're like, okay, they're not, and connection sounds like this. Like you ask them a question and they're not saying yes, no, I don't know. What do you care? That's not connecting. When you connect with somebody, they answer in full sentences, right? When they're answering to you in full sentences, that means that you got a good connection with them. They feel comfortable. Now we transition to motivation question because I don't set an appointment if there's no motivation, right? Because if not, you're going to kill hours going to appointments that turn to nothing. Ask me how I know, right? Like I did that for a long time. So when we do motivation questions and we ask specific, like with absentees, one of the questions I ask, especially if they're telling me like, yeah, I will look at it, I will think about selling. Well, why aren't you listing with an agent? Right? I want to know for a fact that like, that's not even an option for you. Because if they tell me like, yeah, I've been thinking about listing with an agent, I'm not going. Agent can always pay, the MLS is always going to get you more than what I can offer you, right? So why am I going to bother doing that? So we ask motivation questions. I want to really determine that this is actually going to move forward. Once I know that we connected and you have motivation, you have a need to sell, not a want. I don't want people that want to sell. I want people that need to sell. Then we set the appointment and go to the property. That's why I don't do, nor do I condone virtual wholesaling. I think it's the dumbest strategy out there. It got popular during the pandemic because that shit worked, but now it's just lazy investing.
You're saying it doesn't work because you can't be like boots on the ground there? Or?
Because me and you like this, we're gonna connect so much better, and I'm gonna get a much better deal than if I'm trying to do everything over the phone.
You're never meet face to face.
Right, and you can't hang up on me when we're like this, right? And then I can see if you're not connecting with me, I can pivot. Over the phone, I'm just guessing. You can always hang up on me. You can always be like, okay, let me think about it.
Never talk to them yet.
Right, but if I'm with them, you tell me, oh, let me think about it. Well, I'm here now. You know, I made the time. I don't know if I'm going to be available later. Like, what do you need? Like, let's talk about it. I need to talk to my husband. Well, what do you think your husband's going to say? Does he not want to sell? Oh, no, he really does. Let's do this. Let's get the documents filled out. I'll take them with me, and you give me a call tonight if he doesn't like it, and I'll rip them up. That doesn't happen. They never call me with, oh, yeah, rip them up. That's it. You understand? So in person, I can close better than over the phone. It's not that you can't close over the phone. I've done a lot of those. But in person, we get much higher margins. It's just much easier to do.
I'm sure the close rate is higher too.
Tremendously higher. Yeah.
What do you, for people that like to buy from wholesalers, what tips do you have if they're trying to acquire a portfolio and like, I don't want to do all the marketing, and who do you like working with? What makes a good buyer on your buyers list for people that want to acquire properties through wholesalers?
So what makes a good buyer for me is when we build our buyers list, which is very targeted, right? I don't, like anybody, I have people that tell me, hey, I have a buyers list of 300 people. I'm like, you don't have a buyers list, you have an email list. You know, like good luck getting a deal out of that. You know, my buyers list is about like 5-6 solid people. That's it. All I need is people that are serious about this business. What we look for are buyers that do 7 to 12 deals a year, that little range. They don't do any of their own marketing. The only way they're going to buy is from a wholesaler or the MLS. Why we look for those buyers is because they're always going to pay premium because they have no other option, right? They're not doing their own marketing. Anybody that does their own marketing, I tell people, even here, if I'm on your buyers list, you don't have a buyers list. I promise you that. I don't pay premium. You understand? Because I get massive margins on my own. So I will never pay premium for anybody, right? Other buyers are okay paying premium, right? Because they have their numbers, they have their strategy. So it's not even like, because I had a student like, oh, so you look for dumb buyers. I was like, no, dumb buyers don't buy. They flake out on you. I'm looking for buyers that they know what the hell they're doing. They know their numbers, right? So most of my strategy with Dispo, when I hear people that have a Dispo department, and I'm like, are you doing like 30, 40 deals a month? No, you shouldn't have a Dispo department. You understand? Like my Dispo takes 20, 30 minutes, right? And Will, you've been a part of that. I'll text them, hey, you buying right now? Yeah, I have a property in this area. Oh yeah, I'm interested. Here's a link of the pictures. Yeah, when can I go look at it? That's it. That's how hard Dispo is for us because we know what Will wants. We know where he's buying. We know all these things. It takes all of like 20 minutes for me to determine if we got a buyer ready for it. That's it. And we make a lot of money doing that way because it's very targeted buyers. Now, anybody that does more than 12 deals a year, they typically have options, right? So when they have options, they become pickier, right? As they should be. I'm a very picky buyer. That's why I said I should not be on most of your lists. Now, I understand if I'm the only person you know, then something's better than nothing, right? But when you're doing this, you know, as a business and you're trying to make more money, your buyers list needs to get very targeted and very, you know, deliberate when you're marketing to your buyers. Does that help?
It helps a lot. Yeah, I get a lot of investor lift deals. I don't know who they came from.
Oh, yeah.
And so they go in the trash. But when some people in this room call, it's much more personal. I know that they're thinking of us and what we like.
Yes.
So from the buyer side, that's how it looks to us. You know, if you call, I answer for several reasons. But the investor lift stuff just is bulk disposed of.
Yeah, Investor Lift, all those, they're spam to us. You know, even wholesalers that use Investor Lift, I'm like, your business must suck. And they're like, yeah, it's kind of hard. I'm like, yeah, because you're blasting this out and then getting a bunch of random ass emails, you know, asking you dumb questions and you don't even know who they are. But this is a relationship business. This isn't a, that investor lift and everything, all that became hot during the pandemic because it was just, real estate was just insane. That shit is over. It's done. It's been done. You understand? We're back to normal now. Now you actually got to get out there. You got to get to know people. You got to shake hands. You got to build relationships. I don't like networking. Then find another business. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this makes a lot of money. And it's the same for when you buy from wholesalers, right? If a wholesaler's like, I get a lot of wholesalers. Now all of them are cold calling buyers now. I get a lot of annoying ass calls. And it's like, hey, I just want to add you to my buyers list. I'm like, no, I don't want to be in your buyers list. Now, if you take the time to try to get to know me, as far as like, I wanted to ask, what is it that you like buying in San Antonio? What areas, what price points, what types of homes, that you want to actually know my criteria, and you bring me a property that meets my criteria, you got me. I just want your email to add you to my buyers list. No, I don't want to get spammed. Yeah.
The worst is when you actually give them your.
Anyway, they're lazy. That's why it's not hard to stand out as a wholesaler. It's really not hard. If you take the time to get to know your buyers are going to love you. Most of my buyers turned out to be my money lenders later on. We use private money lenders all the time for all of our properties. We've never had problems finding money because we build such a good reputation by always putting out good deals and taking care of our buyers. When I reach out to Will with a deal, he's the only one that has it. I didn't reach out to Will and 10 other people, and then when Will says, yeah, I want it, be like, well, you got to come up 10 grand now. He's not going to want to do business with me, nor should he want to. That's terrible. I'm not respecting his time. Next time he sees a deal from me, he's like, this guy's probably blasted it everywhere. I'm not going to waste my time. And that's why most people struggle to wholesale deals, because that's how most buyers look at you. You're blasting your deals. They don't want to waste their time. You understand? So when you blasting deals and you're like, there are no buyers in the market, I promise you there are. You just don't care enough to get to know these buyers. Yeah.
So you did mention a lot about mindset shift, and that's probably because we're our own worst enemy, right?
Yes.
So what clicked in you that shifted that mindset to, hey, you know what? I'm ready to make money. I don't want to be that scraping through kind of situation.
I mean, there's a lot of things. Like mindset shift doesn't happen like, it's a culmination of a lot of situations, a lot of circumstances that pile on each other, right? So it's just one thing after another, and you kind of go making that shift. The biggest thing I would say is becoming aware of everything. So what do I mean by this? If I said something here tonight that triggered any one of you, that's your problem, not mine. Nobody in the world has the power to trigger you. Not even the president. Sorry. Nobody has the power to trigger you. There's a weakness in you. There's something in you that triggered you. You understand? If you're like, fuck you, what do you know? Interesting. That's an interesting reaction to have. That's very aggressive, right? Why did you feel attacked? Because you feel like you're doing it wrong? Because you feel like you're ignoring it, or you have that problem and you just want to pretend like it's not there? So I started questioning every feeling and emotion and everything that was negative, right? Especially when it's like, man, this seller, this deal didn't work. The seller's probably an idiot. Or my excuses used to be, all the wholesalers that are making money, they're scumbags. They're all taking advantage of all the sellers and screwing over all the buyers. That really helped me make a lot of money. You understand? Like, I started questioning. I'm like, what if they weren't screwing over the sellers? What if they weren't taking advantage of buyers? Now your brain starts working. So then what could I do? How can I become better? Right? Now it goes back into you. So there's an excellent book, Extreme Ownership, that I think everybody likes to read, but nobody likes to do the work, because extreme ownership starts with you. When you have a problem in your business, guess whose problem it is? Yeah, it's not the market. How many people blame the market? Buyers, this, that. No, it's none of that. It's you, 100% is you. When you accept that, and I'm not saying be a victim, oh yeah, I'm an idiot, oh my God, I'm so stupid. No, don't be the victim. This is like, fuck, there's something I need to change. There's something I'm missing. Immediately, what I do, again, high school dropout, I cheat. So what I do, I'm like, there's Will. Yo, what am I doing wrong? Right? Who else can I reach out to? I have a contact list of people that I call consistently. You understand? Because when I get stuck, those are the people that get me out of it. Why do I need to have the ego that I need to pull myself out? I'm the one that got me in, right? How about I get somebody else that tells me, have you thought of doing this? Fuck, no. And then I go all in on it. That's it.
And let me throw something here. What's your alternative if you don't change? And then that's the entire argument. And if anybody know David Goggins?
Yeah.
Read that book. I was his boss's boss back in 94, 95, 96 at Fort Campbell. And if you want to see somebody shift from this warrior to the guy you see now, it's that. His book is about extreme ownership. So just read that. Start there.
Yeah. One of the books I'm reading right now that I recommend is The Mountain Is You. Just the title, I was like, yep. Every challenge you're going to have in your life, every single challenge is you. Entirely. It has nothing to do with anything else. I've had really bad deals. I've lost a lot of money. Yet I'm still more successful than I ever was. Right? Because that wasn't the problem. I was the problem. Why did I get into that deal? Desperation. Scarcity. I didn't feel like there was enough. And what happens if anybody buys flips? You get into a shit deal. What happens immediately after? You find some good ones. Because the desperation went away. Now, all of a sudden, you open up your mind. You're like, oh, there's another good deal. There's another good deal. They were there all along. The thing is that your desperation was just, there's nothing. I got to snatch up anything. And those are really premium buyers. Anything else? Yes?
When you're working other cities, do you do virtual?
No. So I have a partner right now in St. Louis. That's another market that we're in, and he's our boots on the ground, and we run the back end over here.
Like Dallas or Austin?
Not yet.
Okay.
No, we're just in San Antonio right now.
That city that could help you.
Yeah,
Not do it virtually.
correct. Yeah. And I offer this to everybody. If you have an established business, more or less, and you're doing deals, I do offer a 30-minute free strategy session. Where we just get in and I'll criticize the shit out of your business. No, we'll talk strategies. Yeah, you might cry. Get some tissues. But a lot of people have taken it up on it. It's free as long as they're available. Just go to joinpwm.com and you can book a session there. But I'm always available, especially for people here. This is where everything started. So on Instagram, ask me questions until you don't have any more questions. I'll answer every single one of them.
What's your Instagram?
It's just my name, John Barbera. Cool? Thank you. Thank you, man.